Welcome to Norse Talk, Information of the Gods. I am Red Bearded Viking. This is Red Dranger. And tonight, once again, we are picking back up on the Asatru by Patricia Lafayllve. We'll be talking about chapter 11 tonight. If you guys are catching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe and that like button. Help keep that YouTube going and keep sharing it for us. You guys will have some more episodes up there soon. They're in the editing process right now. Um, as far as next week or Wednesday goes, you guys, we are taking Wednesday off because of the holiday. So we will be resuming with Norse Talk next week on Monday with chapter 12, which we will be breaking into two parts. So we will be discussing chapter 12 on Monday and Wednesday of next week. So how you doing, Dranger?
I'm doing really well, man. I had a good weekend. How about you?
Mine was good. Like it was kind of a busy weekend, but it was a good weekend. Um, Definitely glad to be getting into another chapter. We had a wonderful chapter last week where we had our guest Sable on for two of the episodes. One which we are not going to air on YouTube, you guys, just because it was going over rune binding, and we don't want to put those bindings out there to get misused. So we are not going to re-air that part of the episode, just to let you guys know. But everything else has been going wonderful,
Nice.
man. Like I was talking about earlier, you guys, I got my merch in. I got my shirt last week, and then my hat came in, or not my hat, my gator came in just the other day, which you guys know I use my gators for bandanas. So definitely sporting the Norse Talk gear
Yeah. So again,
tonight.
guys, if you're not following the YouTube, it is Norse_talk, and all the episodes that we've done on previous chapters are on there.
Yeah, definitely. Good thing to check out if you want to get caught up. If you're just joining us and you're interested and you want to see the previous chapters that we've already gone over, check it out there. Also, follow us on our Discords and on our Instagrams as well. You guys, those links are on the Beacons page in our bios as well, along with those top three support pages to help keep Norse Talk going, you guys. So, I think we're ready to get into this chapter. Um, so, what did you think about chapter 11 so far,
Chapter 11 has been probably the only disappointment to me in this entire book, and it's an understandable disappointment because when we get into talking about Seidh and that kind of stuff, there's a lot of conjecture and there's not a lot of solid information. Um, the descriptions of pretty much the entire topic are from an outsider's perspective looking in, and the source material that does talk about it is seen very differently by a lot of different scholars and theorists. So it is a complicated issue to talk about.
Yes, and even like looking at the other sources that she used, you guys, there's not much in those sources about it either. So I did find this chapter a little textbookish, um, although it was informational to the point of the information out there that was available at the time. It is a lot of defining words more than anything else in this chapter. That's one thing that we haven't run into pretty much a full chapter like that, like we did this one. Um, but again, it is the practice of magical uses that there's not a lot of done nowadays, and you got to remember a lot of it was the pre-Christian era, which means that it was documented by the Christians, and there's not a whole lot of documentation on magic by them as well.
Yeah. So talking about like a brief description of Seidh, it is closely can be connected to trance type magic. We do see it with a lot of other beliefs. Shamanism is one part that is talked about in comparison to this. There are a lot of similarities. Um, Again, both use trance style magic. They get into a frame of mind. There's ceremony involved. Um, Both are used in kind of similar ways when it comes to talking about. Um, I don't want to say fortune telling, but there is an aspect of fortune telling, but foresight into events, the outcome of events in the near future and some in the further future, as well as healing magic for the community and curses for your enemies type kind of stuff.
Right, definitely. And I mean, she goes in to define it. The word said in Clesbury as a spell, charm, enchantment, or incantation, and also as a kind of oracle or fortune teller.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different books that go into different descriptions based on different paraphrases of the word, different sections of the word, which is what a lot of the defining terms in here are. We're going to let you guys tackle those on your own. Just because it is a lot of looking through different books and finding the sources yourself and being able to decipher more of it than what we were able to decipher with the little bit of information we were given on each part of the word in this chapter. I did want to read the citing from the Ynglinga Saga, chapter 7, and I probably butchered the heck out of that, which says Odin had the skill which gives great power and which he practiced himself. It's called the Seidh, sorcery, and by means of it he could know the fate of men and predict events that had not yet come to pass. And by it he could also inflict death or misfortune or sickness, or also deprave people of their wits and strength and give them to others. But this sorcery is attended by much wickedness that manly men considered it shameful to practice it, and so it was taught to the priestesses. So it's not saying that there aren't men that practice this, but it it is more common for it to be both sexes nowadays. But back then, it was more common for it to be the women that practiced it instead of the men. It goes into great detail about talking about how they were set up on a pedestal type thing with a pillow, or they were set where the king would sit, and the cauldrons would be placed below them, and there would be song ahead of time, and then they would go into a trance. And after they went into the trance, they would speak with the spirits, and then they would give what the foretold, either past, future, whatever it was, the prophecy that they were being told, they would come up with at that time. And then with the men, it was talked about how they would drape a hood over themselves or a cloth over themselves, and they would go into that trance. And then when they came out, they would give their prophecy.
Mm-hmm. And you guys will see modernly this comes up a lot. So there's a few good, really interesting points that Redbeard just started. I'm going to work kind of a little bit backwards on them. Modern heathenry and old views of Seidh style, trance style, shaman style magic. It gets really interesting because there are so many other cultures. Just again, the brief mention he talked about the blanket being held over the head, that automatically flashes me to a lot of sweat lodge type stuff that goes on with decent or different First Nations communities in North America, not just North America, but all over the world. Seeing type magic, foresight has always been a really sensitive issue for cultures because it can be viewed as being a negative, because it can be used as a negative, even if it's just the influence that that person holds over that particular place, village, or community. Another really interesting modern issue when it comes to this kind of stuff, and especially with the very little bit of information that we have in it, is that when we do talk about things like seers, gothi, vulva, in Norse paganism, there is a lot of conjecture, discussion, debate, and full-on arguments when it comes to how those people related in each community, where they were. Because again, the first thing you guys have to remember is the heathens themselves were a far spread out people. They were travelers. They went to new shores. So not every village community had a seer or a gothi or a vulva, that kind of stuff. So the information that is written down about it is written from the outsiders looking in, and there's so little information about it that all the work that goes into studying this particular um, practice is looked at how the word is broken down. And that's where all the philosophical arguments have come from, is breaking down different aspects of the word and looking at the people that would have written it into that word as to what it was trying to originally describe. When they talk about it as meaning the seated one or the high one, there are people that talk about that being associated with them practicing on burial mounds, and other people will automatically and see it as being talked about their social status in that group and or community. It's been broken down very, very differently, and it has created a lot of tension because they're that different belief system, and a decent amount of heathens, modern heathens, do not practice this side of heathenry. There's a decent amount of heathens that look at this and speculate that because there's so little known about it, that it's something that they won't wade into. Um, and it gets a little interesting because there are people in the community that talk about being experts on this kind of stuff, when the experts themselves are still studying just the word because they don't know much. And I'm not trying to take away from the families that have actual legitimate stories passed down through the lineage. There are Norse pagan family or groups of people that come from Norway or Iceland that can and still do practice the same way that they have for generations. And there are passed on stories in that regard. And those are super valuable too. I'm just saying that widespread, that information is not super available, and it is very conflicted amongst the community and scholars.
Right, and it goes on to say right here, you guys, on 137, females were considered especially gifted in prophecy and clairvoyance in the Germanic tradition, as reported in the Tactus, but males could apparently compensate in some way. It's just saying that, in the earlier stages, it was mainly women that did it, but by all means, it does. It's not saying that men didn't have this ability to. It did say that most men chose not to, because they viewed it as a form of emasculinity. Not that they couldn't, but they chose not to.
There was a seated mistrust with it when it came to the males, and I just quickly want to remind everybody that Tacticus again was the Roman that was studying the Germanic cultures.
Definitely.
So he is not speaking as a Norseman. This is an outsider looking in. So you have to remember that there's going to be a bias and a misunderstanding present
Right, and it
in how
even
he looks
like,
at it.
and to the point, it even goes into talking about the rituals and stuff, and how, you know, before the seers would, you know, have their prophecy, there would be a song sung, but they don't have record of what it was. Um,
Yep.
and they believed that that was something to either entrance the spirits or for protection. And then also the words that the seer spoke as part of the process, they don't have those words either. They don't have transcription of how those rituals went. They just have stories being told of, it was performed with the singing and then the
Yeah.
ritual, and then they would come out of it with the prophecy. They don't even have record of how the whole ceremony ended, just that they would get up and leave and go on to the next farm. Um, so it just goes to show you that there's just so little known about it that it leads a lot into speculation and miscommunication over things, because there is such little known and so much speculation about it because of what's little known, people filling in the gaps themselves, you know. And then there's also, because of so much little known, a lot of the actual real knowledge is held in those families that were passed down by
Yep.
story, that are still involved in the passing down of those stories.
Yeah, and again, modernly speaking, when you look at the end of the chapter, when it does kind of describe the ritual and the singing that Redbeard was describing, the author, in not just this author, but who she's referencing, really does pay a lot of attention to the fact that when it is described, the details of what the seeress is wearing, the fact that her buttons are made of tin, like there's a great deal gone into what this person was wearing and presenting, but there's no subtext to it. So there's again, it becomes a lot of argument of, was this stuff necessary for this practice, or was this stuff spoken of because the particular seeress in this story was of high standing? And if you guys know the correct answer to that, I mean, it's not out there. It's some of that stuff that is lost to time. So we do look at it from an outsider's looking in and looking at the way other cultures practice. So when it comes to shamanism and seers and other faiths and backgrounds, there are a lot of them where that kind of ritualistic work does take place before the ceremony begins. So you draw a little bit out of that to say, well, you would think that there would be some commonality between that, because commonalities do exist between pretty much all pagan beliefs in one way or another. Just even if you just go to the bottom line philosophy of it being multiple deity, there's similarities that can be found, and it makes it really, really hard to get a clear picture, especially with all the different practices that are going on today.
Right, and it kind of just leads into like throughout the different eras. I mean, you had the Seidh and the seers, and then you had the sorcerers, and you had the um, magicians and everything. As each era went on, and then like you go into modern times, a lot of them have to do with fortune tellers and with people that read tarot cards and stuff like that. It's just like a progression, like it's always been there,
Yeah,
but each different era called it something a little bit different. So it's something that stuck through all these times. Just the
yeah,
name of what they were doing and what they were called has changed a little bit, and the way that they do it has changed as time's progressed.
yeah. And modernly, like anybody that, looking into the past, anybody that was a seer, anybody that accessed the third eye, did so in a specific way and or form. Modernly, there's almost a sub belief now of different practices from so many cultures that using the third eye has become its own spectrum of belief, with influence coming from so many different backgrounds. You won't see a lot of rune casters that are Norse that don't have a really decent knowledge of tarot or spirit cards or oracle cards, stuff like that. It's very much become its own modern practice, and that's really exciting in itself, because again, with modern heathenry on the uprise since the 70s, it is finding its place in that too, and parts of that are moving into this other ether of spirituality, and it's really interesting to see where that's going.
Yeah, and just definitely don't get it confused with the whole use of like the Ouija and stuff, because that's a whole different magic that you should just stay away
And that would be red bearded Vikings bias talking. Did you were you oh no, you left alive by then. So
from. No, I was there.
oh, for the Ouija board talk when we were talking about doing the paint?
Yep,
I'm so gonna
I
do
was
that.
there. I was just biting my tongue.
I like, yeah. So just for everybody that's listening right now, we were in a live, I think it was a Alaskan celebration the other night. We got talking about Ouija boards, and somebody suggested that I do a face paint of a broken Ouija board and then terrify Redbeard with it. And I'm probably going to do that. But again, if I do that, I'm imagining he's going to grab tree branches and like try to pretend like he's trying to kill me like an ant or something. So it's one of those things that'll most likely escalate.
Yes, because we haven't escalated enough stuff yet.
No, yeah, that's all we do. That's why we have to keep the Red Room and North Talk so separate, because there is a line in that sand.
Definitely. But this was like I said, this was a very textbook chapter.
Yeah,
Not one of my favorites, but definitely for the information out there, I think she covered it well. I think she did a good job. Um, just it was a little different style than what the book's been so far. It was a little textbookish, which made it a little bit more difficult to read. But it was as informative as can be expected for the topic.
yeah. Um, it is a very, very interesting topic, and I hope that I'm not trying to take away weight from it, but looking at this topic now, there's almost no way of doing it without just looking at how it exists in modern heathenism now, and the fact that it is heavily influenced by a lot of practices, and there's just no way of avoiding that in the modern age. We all live together, we all work together. You go outside of your house, you're gonna walk across 100 people with different beliefs, where in ancient times that wasn't a thing. You would very rarely come across somebody that was even from 2-3 villages over, because travel was just very different. So modernly, how this is working in with, again, I'm referring to it as the third eye just because I don't have a proper term for it, but how it is influencing that spectrum, even just here on TikTok. Like if any of you were kind of TikToking or just watching TikTok and that kind of stuff before Norse, I don't mean our Norse talk, I meant Norse talk in general, kind of really started to come up on the rise. You can even see the elements of the Norseman culture coming into the Oracle card users, to the spirit card users, to people using the Ouija board, people talking to the deities, to the ancestors, to spirits, and mixing those cultures. And it's very, like, I saw a really interesting video today of a guy who was talking about he was half First Nation on his father's side, and he was Norwegian on his mother's side, and he had a very tapped in spiritual belief to both sides of that, and it was super fascinating. Like in my life personally, I love talking with the First Nations leaders that I live around, and spiritual practitioners, just to look at, I will go pick sage in the same place that some of these elders will, and who we're talking to might be different, but how we're going about it is very much the same. And the fact that even worlds apart that exists is really cool.
100%. Yeah, there's just like I was scrolling through. Oh my! So we were just talking, going back to Ouija boards, you guys. Like and like I just don't do them. I've had bad experiences in the past. I stay as far, like if I'm in a store and I see one, I leave. Like that's how much I don't like them and mess with them. And like one of the biggest no nos with an Ouija board is leaving the pointer
Yeah.
sitting on the board unattended. And I was scrolling through TikTok the other day. And I came across a live, and that's what it was. It was an Ouija board sitting there with the pointer on top of it. I was like, oh no. I was like, gone, gone. Like I wanted to block the person, but I couldn't even stay that long.
Oh, you almost pulled a Fruit Loop with the puppets moment.
I was just like, nope, not doing it, not having it, not today.
Oh, I didn't tell everybody yet, but last Friday when we did our paint, the Grinch and the Santa paint, I wasn't able to use the new horns that I ordered because they didn't arrive. And so I was pissed off. I had to use my other horns. Do you know what showed up at my door that next morning? Like before the sun was like fully up?
The horns.
The horns. So I had to use those tiny little stubby bastards. But I had these things ordered. I was going to custom paint them. I was going to mount them in the hat properly. Like it was going to be gnarly. Now I got to
Which
figure out.
means he has more Krampus to do.
Well, it might not just be Krampus. I can use them for. I mean,
oh yeah.
I was really excited to use them for Krampus because these style of horns with my hairstyle is really difficult because these style of horns do use a strap. And it's really hard. Like if you have hair on the sides of your head, you can usually hide that with a little bit of paint. But with this, I'm going to have a bit of a harder time doing that. So I do have some few ideas. I also have a Hellboy one that I want to do at some point. Nice. I'm still trying to source out Hellboy horns, but if I find those. Anyways, I'm totally off topic.
You know, when you're done with those, when you're done using those for the other content, if you want to do Hellboy, you could just cut them yourself and make them.
I could, but I'm worried that they're a little bit too narrow on the back. like Hellboy horns are so stubby that like I mean I think I could use like polystyrene and like just make them if I had to.
Right.
They're mounted close together. They're on the brow of the head, so I mean really you just make a casting, shape that to the polystyrene.
Definitely. So you guys, if you're not catching our Friday episodes when we do paint lately, those are usually our paint and art nights. They start out Norse talkish and they end up Red Room. So please join us for those as well. Those nights can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's just those nights is just our nights to just have fun, spend some time with community, and just do some different stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I did release the first of the new series. The Grinch series is done. I released a OC video, bringing back an OC. It was a duet with Ryder. So if you guys haven't checked that out to see which OC I'm doing next, that the videos are going to start slowly coming out for, check that out as well. It's an old one, but one that people have been asking to come back.
We also have a theory for doing a twisted version of the cast of Wizard of Oz involving some of the other community members. I'm going to have a go at the Scarecrow. Redbeard's going to bring his Tin Man back, and then I think Sable said she is good to go to do like a demonic Dorothy. And I haven't asked Fruit Loop, but I'm going to ask Fruit Loop about doing a Cowardly Lion. So we still need a Wicked Witch and some other characters, but it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun, you guys. We're excited for that one. And we'll have other ideas coming up as well. We've been throwing back and forth some other ideas on paint to do together to coincide some content and stuff. So those are going to be coming as well, you guys. We've been having a lot of fun on Friday nights. This Friday night, unfortunately, with the holidays, we will not be doing anything. So we're taking Wednesday and Friday off, you guys. We may be jumping on some other people's lives just to say hi. We may hold a couple of our own, but as far as Norse talk goes, we'll be taking the rest of the week off and starting back up on Wednesday. Also, you guys, Friday the 31st, we will be hosting a New Year's party. I will be live out at the bars. Y'all will get to see me get really trashed, having some fun. So we look forward to that. We'll see if it gets taken down by TikTok or not.
I was going to say, you're going to burn through all 3 of your accounts so quick.
Right?
I will be sporadically popping into that in my backup.
But I'll just have a camera set up while I'm out, you guys, just streaming the live. If I do get my 2 backup accounts taken down during that, I will flip it over in Instagram.
Yeah.
But we plan on having some fun on New Year's, you guys. And then we'll start right back up with the new year.
Oh, I wanted to again remind everybody that I am kicking around the idea of putting together an Among Us game with the community, with a dedicated channel so that we can all just be sussing each other out and having lots of fun. I'm currently working on trying to figure out how to get that going. So stay tuned. So guys, if you're not on the Discord, please jump on the Discord. It is such an asset to the community to have everybody be able to leave comments, leave questions. I've been enjoying so much looking at everybody's artwork that's been posted in there. You guys have no idea how amazingly talented all of you are. Like, wow.
Yeah, we got some talented people in this community, you guys.
Yeah. So, lots of fun stuff. There's all kinds of really cool ideas coming down the pipe for the new year. We'll be starting our new book. There's the new merch coming out. Again, please make sure you pick up your copies of the Study Havamal. The link is in Redbeard's Beacon. There's some really cool stuff coming down
And most
line here, guys. But I got to remind you guys that we can't do this without you. So please jump on those support pages whenever you can and help us out a little bit. Every little bit does make this possible. It brings us to the table. It gets us the books. It gets us the resources to bring paint night to you guys, to bring game night to you guys. The way you guys have helped us so far is so amazing. And with us ending, kind of tailing off into the new year, guys, I just want to make sure that you guys know how grateful me and Randy are that you guys have all been here. and have participated in this. It's truly amazing.
And one of the most exciting things about January, you guys, is the author of A
Yes.
Practical Heathen's Guide to the Asatru, Patricia Lafayllve, will be doing a live with us. Um, she will be doing a call in with us that we will go ahead and we will air here live while we're on that call with her. She's going to talk about her book with us, and um, so that's going to be an exciting night to actually get to sit down and talk with the author a little bit and get some background on her and how um,
Yeah.
the writing of this book went for her, um, what she, what kind of mind frame she was in when she was doing it. You know, some of her background stuff like that is going to be amazing, guys. So excited to have the author on the show. That'll be coming on January 19th. We do not have a time yet. We are in the midst of, it will be a different time than normal because we're going to be working with her, you guys. So as soon as we have that time solidified with her, we do have the date. We just haven't got the time specific yet. As soon as we got that, we will let you guys know. I think at this point, we are going to jump into the end of the episode before I jump over and join Red for Q&A. Do you have anything else before we sign off for YouTube tonight, Red?
Just again, I got a reminder to you, everybody, please make sure you're jumping on that Discord. We are in the process of putting together how we're going to go about doing mead making night in the new year. We're just about ready to release a list of the most affordable supplies so that anybody that wants to participate or learn how to make mead with us can do that. We cannot do that here on TikTok with that many people because to answer those kind of questions, I am going to have to get really theoretical about some of the stuff and we will get fucking heated. So we are going to be doing that in Discord. So you guys, we can have so many people on a video call with us at one time through Discord, which means that we will be there step by step to show you the way to make your very first meat. Never made it before. If you have made it before, please jump in so that you can help everybody else out as well. That's awesome. And
Yeah, so much exciting stuff coming in the new year, you guys. It's going to be an exciting year for Norse Talk and just for the community in a whole.
yeah,
But as always, you guys, this isn't a me thing. It's not a him thing. It's a we thing. We couldn't do it without each and every one of you. We thank everybody that joins us every episode that comes in, checks out the YouTube. Again, if you're on YouTube, you guys, hit that follow button, join our YouTube, and go ahead and share it and like it, you guys. You're all amazing, and always stay amazing, stay creating, and be awesome. And we will see you in the Q&A.